On what's going on? I think I'm having an issue with Ty. Hang on one sec. We're getting there. Hang on. There we go.
Ho! Welcome to another episode of the UTG Update. Ads and Tex here with you. Could it be? Is it? Dare we say it? No, we shan't. We mustn't. Yeah, it is. We're having a little mini alt season at the moment. We're seeing things flurry. We're seeing things pop. It's all been happening in the Discord. We're going to talk numbers tonight. We're going to also talk about a couple of little additions that we're making to the Discord as well, and what we're going to be doing here on the live update. So, of course, if you do dig what Ads and I are putting down, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that like. We're doing this all the time. Some new content coming tomorrow. One of the biggest things that we get asked all the time here at UTG is, what type of trader am I? And from all the one-on-one sessions that we've done in the past, it becomes a revelation for the guys that we mentor who think they're one trader type. And then by the end of it, through their own volition, they realize that there's a whole different type of trader that they really should be to maximize their profits. So that guide is being dropped tomorrow. Appreciate you being here. Let's have a look at the charts. BTC, LTC, a couple of alts and FX we're going through tonight. More info on everything that we do, unitytradinggroup.com as well. Lots of guides coming in the meantime. Ads, here we are. So, interesting last couple of weeks. We had that big dump. Well, it is a dump, but in the scheme of things, it's not really a dump, from 40K down to 30K, where we seemingly double bottomed at that demand zone, that pretty significant demand zone. We breached below that trend line. This seems very familiar, this pattern, this retest of this overall trend line. Are we going to get a bearish retest of that trend line and head back down towards that 33.8 sort of level, that 50 fib? We're making higher. So I guess, how do we classify this? Did we make a higher high here, or we made a lower high here? In the scheme of things, we seem to be making higher lows. What's happening with this pattern at the moment, and where do we think we're headed?
Well, in the if we're looking at the 4-hour time frame currently, in my opinion, this was the higher high. This was the lower high, and but the only issue with this sort of pattern is we're not making lower lows. So the lower low hasn't been lower than the last one, of course, and the one just previous hasn't been lower than the one prior to that. So it's really building something like this, where we've got this formation forming now, where you could seemingly do. I despise trend lines, but anyway, but yeah, something like that, Ty, ignoring the white one. Let's take the white one out just for the second for this example. But yeah, something like this where we could pop either direction. We're really getting squeezed out into a corner here for BTC, and that's pretty evident in my opinion. Going from the bottom of the wick, we go all the way up, and obviously all the way down. We're not making lower lows, we're not making higher highs. So pretty much it's a symmetrical triangle. It's a 50-50 shot in terms of which way we are going. If we go up, it'll be to retest the high. If we go down, it'll be to retest 30k. That's pretty much what I'm seeing on the chart, bro.
Yeah, for sure. And at unitytradinggroup.com too, we've got all of our cheat sheets and are inside the Discord as well that identify these types of patterns that we just see time and time again. We see a lot of these flag movements and a lot of these types of movements in the market at the moment, particularly on the USD pairs. We highlighted it on Theta, BNB, LTC, where these formations are playing out much more, or I guess the formations being respected a lot more than what they had beforehand. Obviously, with the increase in liquidity, you see TA and formations be a little bit more respected than what they are, particularly on far less liquid coins, your shit coins of the world. So yeah, I'm watching BTC very, very closely here within this formation. As Ad said, you could certainly take an entry here, and you could wait for a potential break of this triangle where you would expect that upper supply zone to be met at around that 40k level, hopefully around that 41.5 sort of level. Or on the downside of that, you would wait for a break below this triangle formation, and you would look to short it and see if we head back down towards that 32 or that 30k. One thing that was really interesting overnight is that Grayscale brought up another shitload of BTC.
Yeah, was that legit?
Seemingly is legit. So just reading some info here on Crypto Potato, institutional investors bought $2.8 billion in Bitcoin through Grayscale, blah, blah, blah. Actually, I'm trying to find more information on this. Anyway, the thought is that Grayscale raises $700 million in a day, its largest daily asset raise ever. So it's from what I saw, Grayscale purchased 18x the daily supply of Bitcoin, taking their total sort of Bitcoin allocation to around $20 billion. I'm quite sure I read. Now, don't quote me on that, but they're buying aggressively, and certainly the institutions aren't buying with the intent of things going down, down, down. So important time for BTC right now. You can see where we're headed. And one thing that we really love to do here at UTG is talk about the validity of the RSI at that 50 level. We've seemingly broken above it, and it definitely could see a retest, and perhaps a retest of that 35.8 sort of level, which would be around that 50 RSI level before the next move up. But for the moment, it seems like we've got a little bit of room to move to the upside, in my opinion, Ads.
Absolutely could be the case. That 50 has been very, very valid.
Very well respected.
Valid, should I say. Respected, valid over the course of the last, run that we've had. You can see it even in the history of it. When we did have the dips to the downside, that 50 level was held quite nicely. So it's good to see it back above it. Could that be the instigator of the move to the upside? Absolutely could. Absolutely could. If we are pointing to the upside, and of course we hold the 50 level in the way of the RSI, it could mean a more meaningful move to the upside. And of course we've got our steamroller indicator pointing to the upside as well, with in my opinion plenty of room to move to the upside as well, where we see these moves to the left here have gone up quite above the one area for the steamroller indicator. So to the upside we go. We shall see over the course of the rest of this week, I think.
Yep, for sure. Approaching that midweek volatility. So buckle up, because it could get a little bumpy. All right, let's get on to FUSD. Now, inside the Discord, we were saying when F took this move down towards that 950 level that looking at entries as things decline like this is certainly an option when you're looking to dollar cost average into a position. We spoke about this quite a fair bit on the UTG show a couple of weeks ago. You can go to unitytradinggroup.com on the homepage to talk about that or to see that episode where we spoke about and gave you examples of dollar cost averaging into an asset like LTC. And that is absolutely what I did on ETH. And here we are now seemingly about to break all-time highs at.
Yeah, so if I go back to the daily time frame on ETH, that's your all-time high at around that 1385 level, and that's the area that we're making grounds above. So the all-time high number for Ethereum is, drum roll please, 1424 and 30 cents. So 1424. What are we at now? The high has been 1392. So not quite all-time high just yet, but in saying that, making moves above this level of supply is a good sign for Ethereum.
Totally.
Is a very, very good sign, because we are overcoming that shorting pressure, or that selling pressure at the all-time high, which was going to be the most high quality zone, and of course the hardest level to get through.
Yeah.
So very, very good sign for Ethereum, like I said. And of course negative 27, that's 1526 would be next on the cards if we do get that break above all-time high tie.
Mm-hmm. And I might just go back to BTC for a second. What we're talking about, we have a little bot that we play around with every so often inside Discord called Unibot that spits out alerts when we reach key sort of levels. So if we just quickly go back here at BTC, what are some of the levels that we might want to look at, ads, where we could set some Unibot alerts, do you think?
Definitely.
If someone wasn't in a position right now,
yeah,
how would we look to maybe play this?
You would look for, so if I were doing it, okay, this is the way I would play it. If I wasn't in a position now and I'm thinking, okay, this could go to all-time high, what would I do? I would personally average in at the current price. So I would probably buy a small bag to start me off at the current price. And this is if I'm playing it, right now. I'd buy at the current price a small bag, maybe 1 or 2% of the portfolio, we'll see. And of course, then start to average in as we come down below or towards that 38.2. So the 38.2 will probably be my second or next area of interest. And of course, stops below that 50 line. This is a spot trade, mind you. I'm a spot trader, so I'm not looking at leverages for this example. But that underneath that 50, that lower there. So if we were to come down and break below that 50 line, that would be a lower low, and it would invalidate that market structure, and we would be heading back towards that 31,000. So that would be my stop. And then of course, obviously I'll be well positioned at the moment, and of course that 38 for the movement to 40. Next thing, if you wanted to get in pretty much straight away, instead of buying straight off the 4-hour time frame like I just suggested or just said, it might be an idea to zoom into the smaller time frames like the 30-minute, even the 1 hour, to try and position yourself a little better than just the 4-hour time frame, like I said. So you can even look at major swing pivot points like this one here, for example. That's the main demand zone on the 30-minute time frame. You could come down, retest that level to continue up. That would be a more valid entry if you would want to play it that way. And of course, you could set your stop losses underneath the current market structure to the left-hand side if you wanted to play it on a smaller time frame than the 4-hour like I'm used to, Ty.
Beautiful. Love that. And what about ETH as well? Maybe we could look at a potential play. Now, we know that when we hit significant supply or demand levels, it's quite important to assess the way in which we travel towards that sort of level. So looking at where we are now, that's a pretty confident break or pretty confident piercing of that supply level. So if we wanted to play on the cautious side, would we wait to see what this next 4-hour candle does? Would we maybe do the same thing, look at a potential entry here now and then layer buys in if we make the decision to head back down again? How would we look at this?
I personally wouldn't be buying now. If I had to look at Ethereum, I wouldn't be buying now personally. I'd be waiting for this 4-hour candle to at least close, and then I'd be drawing in my relevant levels on each time frame or the time frame that you want to trade on, to try and validate the next movement to the upside. Because in my opinion, if I see this moving through supply and I'm not in it already, I've missed the move, and I'm more than happy to wait for the next one. That's my opinion. If you're looking at a 30-minute time frame, that may be a different story, where you're looking at different levels and you're waiting for a more valid swing. But in my opinion here, as we have moved through this supply and it's all well and good, of course we can always get a pullback for Ethereum, and it happens quite often. As we do get a movement up to the upside on ETH, it does pull back quite often, and it does pull back quite, it's pretty reliable, to be honest. So if you were to be looking at this move in particular, you'd be drawing your fibs on a lower time frame, from swing low to swing high, and you could even average in towards this level of demand that I've got drawn in here. And that was terrible. That terrible arrow. There you go. You could even draw your fibs in from there. So as an example, 1 hour, I've got the level of demand there. That's the 4-hour level. You could be looking at something like this. If I go to, wrong one, fib retracement. Let's say from the push, and you could be drawing your levels in like 38, 50, 61 towards that level of demand. Obviously, this is a 1 hour chart compared to a 4-hour demand, and then you could look at averaging in that way. However, not financial advice, but still, in my opinion, I wouldn't be buying the break of a all-time high just yet.
Very wise words. That's exactly how I would play that as well.
Yeah, you'd always look for a pullback. You wouldn't jump in at the top, pretty much. That's pretty much, if you're buying now, you're jumping at the top, pretty much, or the previous top. So it's kind of a no-no. With BTC, it's a different story, because it could go either way. You're in a symmetrical triangle, so you're looking at a 50-50 shot, whether it can go up or down. So you're giving it a shot in the way of. That's why I say you could buy now, set your stop loss below the 50. And then if you get stopped, sweet, you get stopped. But if we head up to all-time high again, you're in the trade. So it's a 50-50 shot. In the way of ETH, it's a bit of a different story, because we're at all-time high.
Lovely. All right. For my own selfish reasons, I'm also in LTC from quite a bit down. Where do you see this going? Tell me. No, I'm feeling pretty confident on LTC at the moment. Again, using the RSI, a pretty confident break above that RSI. Didn't quite get the retest of that 50 RSI level, but for me, the break above 150 was a pretty clear-cut sign to me that we were going to potentially continue headed up. So I was fortunate enough to sort of buy back down at this 120 level when we dipped down, and we had this pretty decent pin bar reversal from here. And when the 23s were respected in the way in which they were, where we tend to see a little bit of consolidation, and this, I guess you would call that maybe this little double bottom formation, I was pretty confident again with this pin bar to hold this. So I'm still in this trade at the moment, and looking at this structure to the left-hand side, I'm pretty confident that we'll at least make that 170 level if we don't start to simmer from here. But I'm again looking for that top level, that top supply zone adds.
Yeah, look, the top supply zone, that's the one I've been sort of eyeing off for LTC, because it is the highest quality level. It hasn't been tested yet, and it is on a significant pivot point where we did have a rather large leg down out of that price zone. So it wouldn't surprise me at all one bit to see LTC back up to $180. In saying that, we've got one level in between that and where we are now, and that's the 78. So the 170 area, 173.5, is probably where I would expect it to go next. It's got a little bit of room on Steamroller. We've got room on the RSI, and of course the CCI. We've always got room on the CCI. So looking like we can find or muster up the volume to get to the 78.6 at least. We'll definitely get a decision by the end of the week, in my opinion, on this. Totally. We might get front run on the 78 before that level of demand to to shake out some of the longs that are probably stacked at that level, but remains to be seen. The 78.6, and of course that supply is where I would be looking for LTC, as you were looking at anyway, Ty.
Yeah, and some decent volume now in the last sort of few 4-hourly candles. Some nice volume coming into LTC at the moment. So seemingly the lion's share of the dollars, at least at this stage, are going into the likes of F and LTC, and BTC sort of having a little sort of move, but it seems to be a little bit more generous for the likes of LTC and F in particular at the moment. So that's where the majority of my trades and my focus is at the moment. So yep, that is the top level that I'm looking for, and I'm confident to continue holding LTC for the meantime.
Yeah, look, it's like we said a couple of weeks ago, man. Like we said a couple of weeks ago, is it worth buying BTC? If you're a spot trader, is it worth buying Bitcoin? Is it more worth your time to be looking at LTC USD, Ethereum USD? Because as you can see on the chart, you're looking at a 1.5% change on BTC. You're looking at 9 and 7% on ETH and LTC respectively. So it's more worth your time to look at the other coins at the moment. Especially when
I will mention, as I've mentioned in the Discord a number of times, with F making the runs that it's made, where I sort of immediately go when F has these blasts is to Ethereum Classic ETC on the USD pair. So we can definitely chart that up, but I would suggest anyone having a little bit of a flutter, that is kind of where my attention goes when I start to pull a little bit of profits from ETH. When it cools, ETC is definitely on my radar at the moment, and maybe we can chart this up as well, ETC USDT. And beyond that as well, some of my attention has come back into XRP a little bit. And one that I'm looking at in particular, as it broke all-time high, is BNB USDT. So certainly worth a sniff, those few coins, in my opinion, for the USD pairs anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just trying to chart this up to see where we're at. Because this is an old chart. I honestly don't look at I honestly don't look at LTC, Ethereum Classic very often, admittedly.
Yeah, nor had I.
So I'll draw in the zones properly there. There we go. So we've got that rejection off the top of that level of supply on our Ethereum Classic, which is fine. We've eaten through a lot of that level now, but we closed underneath it, retested it underneath it as well. So it is still valid in my opinion. But if we were looking for more upside potential on Ethereum Classic, I would be looking at the 61, 78, and of course that 88 level. Those three levels really stand out to me. More so the 78, I guess. Because if we do get a move above the 50, it would be a little bit more generous in the way of getting to the 78, and I think it can get there. It's a 13% move to there, and there's not much holding us back in terms of price structure until the 78. So that would be the area that I'd be looking for. Of course, the 68 being the one in front of it too. But looking for a close above this 50. If you wanted to, you could set an alert and see if we close above this 50. If we do, then you'd be obviously looking towards that 68 and 61 and 78.
Yep, totally.
Nice and easy one, to be honest. Just use your fibs. Yep.
One thing I will point out on Unicon, our custom indicator as well, that I've been having a little bit of a play with. You can go back to Unicon and turn this thing on and play around with shit and totally forget that it has it built into it. One tool that I'm really, really loving that is almost a little bit of a dynamic supply and demand is the Murray's channels. So if we go back to Unicon and right at the very top there, we hit Murray channel. And maybe we'll play around with some of those settings just to brighten up the channels just a touch as.
Oops, sorry.
What I really love about this is that if you go to top fib band and bottom fib band and brighten those up, just brighten all of them up.
There we go.
And then at the very top as well, the 50 fib band, just make that very yellow. Yep. And then just click out of it. Yeah, this is what I'm loving about the Murray's channels at the moment, because you can see how that 50 fib line aligns so well with our 50 fib tool that we've got lined up. And we can see where the Murray's channels at the very top here aligns perfectly with our supply zone at the top there. So a really handy little tool that I had admittedly forgotten about, that I've been playing around a lot more with on the Unicon indicator. So if you don't have your hands on that, go and suss that one out. It's a lot of fun to play with. All
Why
right.
not?
Let's get into the FX market. Of course, anything that we share when it comes to FX is purely just opinion only. We are not financial advisors, even though the hit off that DXY was bang on ads. Congrats, bro.
Thank you.
But anything that we do, talk to your own financial advisor if you want to know more.
So yesterday I spoke about, yesterday? Yes, it was. Yesterday I spoke about this level of supply, and I said more than likely continuing this uptrend with the DXY, because we were looking at moving towards this level of supply. We'd be looking at a touch on this level to either make a decision, make or break, obviously, this run. And sure enough, we got just a tiny bit of front run, which is just a rejection before the level, which is fine. I'll take that as a win, to be honest. And the level of steamroller giving us a rejection off that overbought condition as well. So in all honesty, a good result for the TA for the DXY. And if you've been watching us for quite some time, the DXY does respond really, really nicely off this off TA that we do, especially with supply and demand, and a lot of our fib levels as well. But in any case, if we're looking towards any level right now for the DXY, we're on like an invisible support level right now, if we draw it in just here. So you're looking at this support resistance flips on the left-hand side, and that's the area that we're really stuck on at the moment. I'd be looking more towards this level here at the 23, 38, and the 50. The 50 stands out to me a little bit more. We've got that already drawn in there, but the liquidity sitting on throughout the left-hand side of the 50 stands out. We've got a lot of support resistances here, and of course, that was the previous level of support before we moved up towards our level of supply there for the DXY. So if we do continue down and get a close below this support at 90.5, I'd be looking more towards that 89.96 or even 90 even for the DXY over the course of the next probably couple of days. To be honest, it will probably take a little while to get down there. But if this is just a pullback, and it could very well be, because we are looking at that market structure of higher highs now and higher lows, we could continue to the upside. This is the flip scenario now. Next one would be the 91.5. It's a nice psychological round number there for our next resistance. And of course, we need to make grounds above this level of supply to do that. Are we going to get this movement? Are we going to get this movement into this supply? It remains to be seen at the moment, but that's a pretty decent level of rejection or rejection level there off that 91 level of supply so far. So it's going to be a little bit tricky for the DXY, but we'll see over the next couple of days. Only one or two more I wanted to look at this evening. The next one is the All Ords. So we haven't looked at the All Ords for a little while now. The daily is the one I usually look at for the All Ordinaries, but that's for a reason, because I've been keeping an eye on this. I haven't been doing TA admittedly, but the structure, the price action is quite stagnant. It's been moving to the right-hand side pretty much, and it hasn't really been giving us all that much information on what direction it's going to take. We have been making higher highs just slowly, but you can see the indecision in the market, especially with a lot of these indicators. RSI, CCI, and Steamroller moving to the right-hand side with no clear direction, and of course this chart structure, this TA not making any clear direction there. That's a very, very loose pattern there. That's forming, but nothing really concrete, in my opinion, for this All Ordinaries chart. And of course, if I had to guess, or if I had to give you my opinion on this, we can very well draw our Fibonacci retracement from the swing high to the swing low, and that'll more than likely give us a very broad answer as to what we're looking at. So we're looking at the 88.6 area now, and we've been fighting it for quite some time, moving above it, then closing below it, moving above it, then closing below it. So that'll probably happen for the next couple of days, even if we do get the movement to the 88, it'll be a little bit of a stretch to get towards that 7,200 for the All Ords, but it's definitely possible, and that would be a fantastic achievement in my opinion for what we've seen over the last year and a bit for this market. Last one to have a look at is the S&P, not faring as well in my opinion as the All Ords. We have been, it's been faring a little better, should I say that, making higher highs. But I was looking at the 4-hour chart. But with the S&P, in the way of what are we looking at now, we are quite overbought in the way of the daily chart. Not the same sort of price action and market structure we're looking at for the all ordinaries. The S&P is a little bit more overstretched, and looking like we could be creating a lower high here. So we've made that higher high at 38. What was it? 38. Yeah, 38.32. And of course, lower highs have been forming since then. You probably use your fibs now to really gauge where we're going to end up. And of course, we are just being rejected now on the 61.8. I'll keep that on the chart, and I'll keep you guys updated in the Discord over the next couple of days to see if we do get finally rejected on this 61 and continue towards the downside for the pullback that the S&P needs or has been needing over the past couple of weeks. But yeah, Ty, that really concludes the Forex and the regulated market stuff for tonight, I think.
Jolly good, sir. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Of course, if you're liking what we're doing, head to unitytradinggroup.com and make sure you hit that subscribe button and continue supporting us in the way that we support you. We do this off our own back because we love to share what we're doing and love to see others succeed in this market. So if you have any questions, unitytradinggroup.com, come over to the Discord. We're there all the time. Come trade with us, have some fun, and let's make some money.
We'll see you guys in the next session, probably tomorrow night. Thanks, guys.
Bye.